Day 5. Fish, chips and mushy peas. I love eating fish. I think my mum makes the best steamed fish in the world. It makes me so happy when we eat it for dinner. It's not just the fish that I like, it's the extras that come with it. The ginger, the fried crispy garlic, the soy sauce, the green onions. I even pretend to like red-hot chili. Everyone I spoke to in England told me that I had to try eating one of England's favourite meals, fish and chips. How can you eat chips with steamed fish? I love chips, but this sounded horrible. Help was at hand. In the EOI was a short printout from a blog about fish and chips. This is what it said. Fish and chips by the seaside. The peas on a plate blog. For many years, fish and chips has been a popular meal in England. Fish and chips were once wrapped in old newspaper. People would take their meal home, or they could unwrap the newspaper and eat their fish and chips in the street. Some people will tell you that it's important to sprinkle salt and vinegar onto your fish and chips. Never pour tomato sauce on this meal. There is something else that you can add to England's favourite dish: mushy peas. These are made from dried peas. Once cooked, they look like green slime. Not everyone likes mushy peas. You either love them or hate them. The important thing is to try to eat mushy peas with your fish and chips at least once in your life. We think the best place to eat them is when you are sitting on a windy beach next to the sea. I decided that on my final day in England, I would visit a seaside town and eat fish and chips. I travelled to Brighton on the south coast. Even though there was no sunshine, people sat on deck chairs meters away from the crashing waves. I looked at the long building that stretched from the main road far out into the sea. It was Brighton Pier. You can walk along the pier and peer down at the sea below you. Close to its entrance, something caught my eye. A fish and chip shop. My stomach began to rumble and gurgle. It was time for fish and chips and mushy peas. The restaurant's walls were covered in photos of England's famous fish and chips. I soon learned why chips could be served with fish. The fish was not steamed like my mum's. It was first dipped into a liquid called batter. Then it was deep fried in boiling oil. The fish came out of its oily bath wearing a fried brown coat that looked crispy, crunchy, and sizzling hot. I stood at the front of the queue. "Next," barked the large chef, looking like an angry guard dog. "I'd like some fish and chips, please," I said. "Large or small?" the chef snorted. "Small, please," I whispered. As the chef turned to dip a portion of fish into its coat of batter, I took a deep breath. I had one more request. "May I have some mushy peas, please?" The chef stopped, turned, and looked at me for several seconds. He did not blink. Raising just one thick, bushy eyebrow, he asked, "Mushy peas? You really want mushy peas?" I nodded my head, but said nothing. Perhaps no one had asked for mushy peas in a very long time. I began to think that mushy peas might be disgusting. Moments later, my fish and chips were wrapped up, and a carton of mushy peas was thrown on top. Like everyone had done before me, I went to a serving area and slowly and carefully unwrapped my package. My face was bathed in a cloud of steam. What a wonderful smell it was! I sprinkled salt, then vinegar onto my meal. I really could not wait. This was going to be delicious. Could fish and chips become the highlight of my holiday? I left the restaurant quickly and sat on Brighton beach close to the pier. A few seagulls stared at me with unblinking eyes. They were feathered gangsters. "Come on, Tim," I said to myself. "Seagulls aren't gangsters. You're being silly." I tried to ignore them and began opening my warm package of food. That smell hit me again, and my tummy rumbled like an earthquake. Using my fingers, I quickly ate one chip, and then another. Thick, fried potato with that salty and sharp vinegar taste. So yummy. I snapped off a piece of crisp, battered fish. Another cloud of steam. I popped it into my mouth. Inside the crunchy batter was perfectly cooked fish. What was I going to say to my mother? Could English fish and chips be better than her steamed fish? She would be furious if she ever found out I was even thinking this. I picked up the carton of mushy peas and opened it carefully. The green mush did not look too bad, but the smell was different. How could I eat them? I picked up another chip and dipped it into my mushy peas. The chips turned from a pale brown into a slimy green colour. I was about to put the pea-coated chip into my mouth when I heard a terrifying screech above my head. There was a powerful flapping of wings, and before I realized what was happening, a seagull had grabbed my carton of mushy peas in its beak and flown off with it. The thieving bird landed a short distance from me. It was joined by its noisy relatives and friends who all wanted a portion of my mushy peas. I had been wrong. Birds can be gangsters. I quickly rewrapped my fish and chips and took shelter beneath Brighton Pier. My hands were shaking. I had never been attacked by anyone before, especially not a bird. When I saw another seagull flying towards me, I waved my fist angrily. "Go away, bird!" I shrieked. "You're not having my fish and chips! Never!" People close by looked at me knowingly. I was not the first person to have lost his lunch to these greedy gluttons. I was sure I would not be the last. I slowly finished what was left of my meal. It was time for my final postcard. What should I write this time? Dear Mum, Uncle Tam, Cherry and Lollipop. It's my last day in England. I will be home before you read this. I'm in Brighton and have enjoyed my day by the seaside. The highlight was eating fish and chips on the beach by the pier. But I was viciously attacked and had my mushy peas stolen. I was very upset when it happened. By the way, Mum, English fish and chips are so delicious. But your steamed fish is much better. It's the very best. I cannot wait to see you all again. Tim.